Hey, welcome to Garage Geek. This is Friday night chats. So I didn't feel like standing and flipping the camera around, so I'm kind of going back to traditional. I'm in my seat, but I also can't relax because I have this on a really, really shaky tripod, and my feet are actually holding the tripod. This is not ideal. As you can see, it's even moving slightly because I just moved my feet. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully this won't fall over. It already fell over once. We'll see how it goes. So I hope everyone's having a good week. I had my week off, and look, I'm even in my pajamas. It was a nice week, right? But some things happened, so I'm gonna, of course, go over those things. Watched a few movies, finished a book, watched a show. I'm gonna talk about some YouTube happenings. I actually got to go to a record store today, and I got a stack of records. I can see them. I'm not going to show them. I'll do a reveals, not a reveals, a haul video with some needle drops, right? But I got a stack of records this big, and they were $43 total. So I got a good deal. The funny thing was, I went into the store, and it was like a long hallway type of store with bins on either side, and then a large area in the middle where you could go through albums on both sides. So today, I've been there a couple times, but it's far because I went to a friend's house, and my husband didn't want to go because he wasn't feeling well. More on that later. And nothing major. He's taking medicine from, I was like, well, I'll tell you later. Now I'm telling you. So he's taking medication from when he went to the hospital before, and it's giving him a little bit of anxiety, some of the medication. So he didn't feel like going out today. So I took advantage of that. My friend lives about 45 minutes. And so on the way to her house, I stopped at a record store that, I go to occasionally, like when I'm going toward her house. So they had all these boxes on the floor, and I started going through them. Most of them look like dollar records. So I'm just pulling a few that I want. And I had a good stack of them like this. And so as I got close to them, I'm like, I started seeing some really nice albums. And so I thought, maybe they're just here because they haven't categorized them. And I saw lots of people going through the boxes, and they weren't saying anything. They were just sitting back there talking the whole time. And I was like, well, okay. So when I was getting close to them, I said, hey, are these albums a dollar? And he was like, no. Didn't say anything else. I was like, oh, how are you pricing them then? He's like, well, when you bring them up, we'll just look them up and price them. I was like, oh, really? After I've gone through all these boxes? And so I took ones that I had that were obviously that I thought wouldn't be a dollar, and I put those back. And I did have some, like I bought one that was $10, and I bought 3 that were $3.99. And so all the rest of them were what I consider dollar albums. And so I brought them up to them, and I was like, hey, I thought these were a dollar, so if they're more, just let me know. It's okay. So he went through all of them, and he's like, no, I'll give them all to you for a dollar. So obviously I picked a bunch of crap. But to me, it's not crap. So I'll show that in the video. Probably in a couple days, I'll show, I'll go through them. But for me, it was a lot of really interesting stuff, some old stuff, a lot of orchestra stuff. I got some more of the Phase 4 records. So I even I got a Kayama Yuzo. I'll talk more about him, but he's a Japanese singer that I really, really like. Oh, my dog is trying to come up. Come on up before you ruin everything. Come on, jump. Hurry up. Come on, Angel. Jump. I don't want to put my face over there. Are you coming or not? Hurry up. Okay, there he is. Okay, now you lay down, huh? I'm doing my video now. I can't edit this out like I normally do. All right. So it was a kind of situation where, excuse me, I have a little cough. All's well that ends well kind of thing. But I walked out of that store with a big stack of records that was $43. Now that's American. And that's about 1 to 2 brand new records. So I thought I got a really good deal. And enough of that. I'll show those in an upcoming video. So I was sitting in the morning after my first day off, and my daughter comes up to me and she's like, hey, I'm going to give you this Christmas present early since you're off. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, that's pretty cool. She gave me a PlayStation 4 game. Now, it's called Horizon Forbidden West. Now, there's a little bit of a story behind this. Horizon Zero Dawn is a PlayStation exclusive game, and it came with my PlayStation. My husband got it for me for Christmas, I don't know, like many Christmases ago. And I loved it so much. I played the entire thing. It had an add-on. I played all of that. In the end, I spent 120 hours on that game. That is shocking. Like, I don't normally do that. Like, I'll play a game and I won't be obsessive about it, but I got every trophy. I did everything that I could. I got all, like I said, the trophies, the awards. I was obsessed. I absolutely loved it. It was a beautiful game. It was just wonderful and fun to play. And this is part 2. And so I was like, oh no. So I'm going to show you, there's one cool thing about PlayStation games. A lot of them have reversible cover art. So that's the original cover art. But you can flip it around, and I guess this is a map of the territory I'm going to be exploring. So I really like that they have that reversible cover art. And I often choose to display the full cover art rather than the other one. So I'm putting it back in there that way now. I just think, you know, for someone that's art-oriented, right, that for me is like a bonus for buying a PlayStation game, because you're going to get some neat some neat art. So, yeah, this game is so good. If any of you have ever played Horizon Zero Dawn, please let me know, because that game to me is phenomenal. And I don't have a PlayStation 5. So I'm obviously playing the PlayStation 4 version. Another really amazing game, which I didn't actually finish everything in it, was the Spider-Man game for I forget what it's called. The Spider-Man for PlayStation 4. And they also have the Miles Morales one that came after, and I don't have that one yet. But I'll probably get that one too, because I don't think I'm going to be getting a PlayStation 5 anytime soon. And it's fine, because I'm really just a casual gamer. I'm not hardcore. And so just playing a game once in a while, I don't need to upgrade yet. I got some hair sticking down that needs to be trimmed. Ooh. All right. So PlayStation 5, 4, like, this is really going to take up a lot of my time. For example, I started playing, I played about 3 hours, and the credits came on, like the beginning credits. I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. Such a fun game though already. I'm already totally into it. All right. So I want to talk about 2 things that happened before I get on to, you know, some of my media. So usually I do the media first, but if you're around for the media, you might want to skip ahead. So I'm going to talk about 2 events in my life that happened this week. So the first was I took my husband and we both upgraded our phones to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I was like, I want to get him something for Christmas. I already bought him a bunch of stuff, but I'm so stupid. Every time I buy him something, I say, hey, this is for Christmas, and I just give it to him. And then at Christmas, he doesn't have anything to open, and I just kind of feel like, no. So even though I bought him things along the way, I was like, no, I'm going to give you the phone for Christmas. And he got an iPad out of it too, the new iPad. Because Apple makes it so easy, because they allow you to pay monthly. And when you add up how much you pay every month, they split it over 2 years without any interest if you pay it within the 2 years. It's just like, at the time, it seems affordable. So I went ahead and did that. And so when I was looking at the computers, I was like, I really would like a new Mac computer to do my YouTube videos on, because I just bought a Luminaire. I always use iMovie, but I want to start using green screen more, and I want to be able to layer. Every time I do green screen in iMovie, I have to save it and then add it back in again to add another layer, and sometimes I'm doing that 3 times. But with Luminaire, I think no, it's not called Luminaire. It's called Luminosity. Anyways, it's another program. And that one I had to pay $30 for, but it's life. You don't pay monthly, and it gives you up to 6 layers. So I'm really looking forward to using that one, and it's got some more advanced like ways to add text and transitions and things. So I'm still enjoying using iMovie, but I kind of I want to learn something new, and I was trying them out, and it was really cool on the computer, and so I said to my husband, I really want one. So we made an appointment to go back. I decided which one. And I wanted the yellow. Okay, I have a picture of it. They have 7 colors of the Max out. So I actually have the web page open. So this is the line. This is what they're selling. And I wanted the yellow. Yellow is my favorite color. And they have all of these. So we go early, right? Because I don't like going to the mall when it's ridiculously crowded during holiday time. So we go to the mall, and we're early. We get an appointment. We're one of the earliest, and it's already pretty crowded. And so we get there 10 minutes early. We sign in with them. You just walk up to somebody, and they click on their phone like, okay, you're here. Boom, go ahead and wait in the area, and we'll come up to you. So we're waiting 40 minutes. And it's really weird because when we did our appointment for the phones, it was at a different Apple. They were, they took care of us like so fast. And so we're waiting. It's 40 minutes already. And I was like, there's something wrong. Can you go talk to one of the people? So my husband did. And he's like, oh, he said, yeah, they know, but they still have 4 people waiting. I'm like, well, at least we're in the system. Okay, we're waiting. So we waited, whatever, 15, 20 more minutes. And then I was like, okay, I want this one. Boom, I want this on it. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, oh, those are specialty order items only. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you can't get those. Like all of the colors here, the only ones we carry are blue and silver. And I was like, what? So you're telling me I waited an hour and I came to the store and you're saying that I have to order it online? And then he also said, yeah, it'll be ready by January 6th to 8th. And I'm like, that's like 2 weeks or whatever. I'm like, but the whole point of going into the store and not ordering it online is you get to take it home then. I'm like, why would you display and advertise this and then customers come in and wait? And then you say, and it's not that they're out of stock. Okay, I mean, I get that. People buy them, hey, they don't have enough. It's happened before in the past with the iPhone, whatever. But they just don't even carry them. You must order them online. I'm like, they're displayed in the store. This makes no business sense whatsoever. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then he started talking to me like I couldn't get away from him. He started talking to me about all the apps that are available. I'm like, dude, I just waited 40 minutes for help and you won't even let me go. You got other customers to help. I couldn't get away from him. And I was like, first of all, I was mad because I wanted a computer. I wanted to take that computer home and started learning it. And then, learning the program. And then to be told, oh yeah, you got to wait 2 weeks and it's not available in any store. Like he looked it up online. No stores carry it. They're specialty item orders only. I'm like, that is the stupidest system. But Apple can basically do what they want because they make money hand over fist. So it's not like one disgruntled. I wasn't even disgruntled. I was just, hey, I wanted the computer. I wanted to take it home that day since I waited. And I just thought that's a bad business model, but one customer isn't going to make any waves because people were buying stuff like crazy. Like they make a lot of money, obviously. Anyways, that was my Apple situation. I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, that is so first world problem. It's like so stupid to mention, but I didn't get a computer. I guess I saved some money. So another thing that happened was I finally went to the dentist. So I have 2 wisdom teeth out, but I have the 2 wisdom teeth on the bottom. And the one next to it, now this is a this is a warning for all of you out there. Like, I didn't floss much when I was younger. I do it religiously now. But when I was younger, I brushed. There was no problem. I mean, I always kept my mouth clean, but I got a cavity. So I got a cavity in the second tooth. Now the molar's gone. I get the names of the wisdom tooth is gone. So I guess the next one over is the molar. So I got a cavity in that one. And so about a year or so ago, they did a root canal and they filled it. Now what happened was the tooth around the filling just started breaking off. It just died from whatever procedure they did. Like it didn't take. And so it never hurt, but I lived with that for a while, and I finally made hey baby. I finally made an appointment for them to take it out. Now so I go there, and they're very tricky. So they told me everything, like, hey, to take out your tooth is free, it's covered, but hey, you're going to need a bone graft, and that's $650. And then if you want us to put a new teeth in, that's going to be $1,000. A new tooth in, that's going to be $1,000. I'm like, you know what? No, I only want what the insurance covers. It's okay. That other stuff is cosmetic. I don't think anyone's really going to see the tooth. It's not that big of a deal. So I went ahead and signed the papers. We set up the appointment. I said clearly that I didn't want any of that. So then, I go back 3 or 4 weeks later to my appointment, and I'm sitting in the chair. They get everything ready, and they have all those tools of like barbarism all laid out. And so when the dentist comes in, I'm like, so you're going to remove the tooth, right? He's like, yeah, and we're going to do a bone graft. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't want the bone graft. I only want what's covered by insurance. So he goes, let me go talk to the person at the desk. So she comes back and she shows me a form that I've signed that okayed the $650 procedure. And when I went there in the morning, they didn't discuss any of that. And I remember when I signed the documents that they gave me, there was like a big box covering everything, because we sign everything on an iPad now. And so there was a box, and then you just signed on it. And so I'm so glad I checked, because afterwards they would have just done it, and then I would have had to pay $650 out of my own pocket. Now, it's not that big of a deal, but it's Christmas. I don't have $650 to pay right now. Like, on the spot, you'd have to pay it. And I just thought how tricky they are, right? It's like I clearly told the receptionist that I didn't want the procedure, but it got snuck in there anyway. And I'm scared because I never signed a new document. And so my dog is he's trying to get up, and he's going to knock this. Come on, hurry up. So I signed that original paperwork, and I'm expecting to get a bill in the mail for $650, and then I'm going to have to fight that. So, anyways, I'm going to talk about the graphic procedure at the dentist, because to me, it's like stepping into the barbaric past, right? So you sit there, and then they inject you, because this is the third time I've done it, right? Because I had 2 wisdom teeth out. And so they inject you once, and you think, oh, that's okay. They come and they give you another set of injections. It's horrible, right? You're just sitting there, and they're like, you can feel that needle going all the way up in there. And then they come at you with all these like weird things, and they're like grind, pulling, and it's just like so barbaric. Come on, are you coming up? Hurry up. Okay. So they get the tooth out, and I'm like, okay, nobody wants to see that. This is Aries, by the way, the big baby. He needs a haircut. So you made me forget what I was saying. So they get the tooth out. It only took about a few minutes to get the tooth out, and I was like, okay, thank goodness it's over. He showed it to me. It was all disgusting, of course. But then he's like, oh, but there's part of the root broke off, and it's in there. I was like, ugh, okay. So then they had to pull out bone saws and like drills and all this. It was at least 20 minutes. And the doctor, he was a young guy, kind of handsome too. He was bending over me and then pulling up his back. And he was like, oh, because he was bending for so long. And then he'd have to get back in there. And when they were like sawing on the bone, you could smell it. And in fact, I smelled it the whole rest of the night. It was gross. And I mean, I couldn't feel it, but just the cracking and the smell. And I was just like, when is this going to be over? And so finally he pulled out. The root was like this big, and I guess it had the roots go in to hook onto the bone, and he had to like. But I'm using the medicine, and I haven't been in pain. It bled a little bit the first day. I don't know why I'm telling you that. It's just the experience I have. But it's so weird, right? This, they put out all these like instruments of torture, and they're just all sitting there ready to be, anyways, let's move on from my dentist. That's going to teach me never to skip flossing again. I'm keeping all the rest of my teeth. I don't care they're spaced. I'm keeping them all. All right. I finished a book. I just actually finished it today. And it's part of the books that are in the Booker series. So I'm going to show you the cover of it. It's called Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. Now, this is another one of the books that are on the Booker Prize shortlist. The Booker Prize winner already won, but I still try to read them all. Now, of all the books that I've read in the series so far for the 2022, this was my least favorite. It's not that it's not well written. It's very well written. The subject matter it wasn't intriguing to me. And I hate to say something like this. I think women would like this book better. And I don't know, that really does sound sexist. I get it. But it was about 2 generations of women. It was about motherhood. It was about dealing with a child when you have a terminal illness. It was about the repercussions of that throughout the child's life. And then it had this device, the illness inside of the character, the cancer, was a character in the book. And so, it was weird because the cancer knew cultural knowledge, like it had access to the brain. Like it would just, talk about what's on, TV or whatever. It was weird. So, I mean, again, not a badly written book. And I talked about this a little bit with my friend, and she's like, you probably just don't like it because you listen. She's really against listening to books, and I'm really for it. I know the advantages and disadvantages of both, but I'm able to get through so many more books because I listen to them. And she also says, hey, it's because you're listening to them at full speed. I would have never gotten through this book if I read it, because I would have put it down. I just wouldn't have finished it. I wouldn't have. The writing is good enough that it kept me going, but just, I don't know, the subject matter, it just wasn't intriguing enough. And I've read plenty of books that, are really well written about topics that I don't like, but for some reason, I wasn't gelling with this book. And I did recognize that it was well written, but you're not going to like everything, right? You can't. And of all the books I'm saying, I appreciate this book, it just wasn't for me. Like it's not, I wouldn't vote for this one to have won. It didn't. So if you're a woman out there, read this, and if you really, really love it, tell me why. And if you're a man out there and you want to read this and you really, really love it, I would love to have a discussion with you, because then that sexist remark I made would be false. Okay, I think because of the subject matter, a woman might like this book more. Every time I say it, I'm like cringing because it does sound really sexist. All right. Sorry about that. I don't want to be sexist. All right. So I'm going to start talking about what I watched. Okay. And so I'm going to leave one for the end, because a couple of the things that I'm going to talk about are morality issues, and I find those fascinating, and we're going to go through it. So the first thing my husband wanted to watch, he was like, oh, there's this show on Netflix. It's only an hour. Let's watch it. And it's Who Killed Santa? And I was like, oh gosh, because he likes sappy Christmas movies. So I watch a lot of those with him, right? But he was like, "Who Killed Santa?" And it's got the guy from Ozarks. And I was like, "Okay, well, I really respect the choices that actor makes in producing and also acting." And so it's called Who Killed Santa? Oops, where'd that come from? Get rid of that. It's called Who Killed Santa? A Murderville Murder Mystery. So I didn't know this, but on Netflix, this is a show. And I'm actually going to watch them because I'm intrigued now. But basically, the premise is he's the lead actor and he's a police detective. And he's investigating a murder of Who Killed Santa. And these two, so he's Will Arnett. And these two, Maya Rudolph and Jason Bateman. Yeah, Jason Bateman. It's basically improv for them. So they're not given a script. They don't know what's going on, and they just have to act and play along. It's a comedy. And I usually do not like improv too much, but it was funny because they throw these two actors in there, and they're all just having a good time. And it's only an hour, and I don't like improv, like I said, too much. I was laughing like crazy. Just at it's silly, but it's a lot of fun. So it's on Netflix. It's only an hour. I'm gonna cough again. Let me take a sip of my tea. And they're just like thrown into all these like weird situations, and they just have to, act on it and, go with it. And, they're trying to be funny as well because, they want the show to be a success. And they both, of course, have very comedic backgrounds. Well, all three, but the two who are acting, without the script, they both have comedic backgrounds. And I really enjoyed it. My husband said, "You were laughing like crazy." So it must have been good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I was shocked, right? Maybe I thought to myself, "Oh, this is going to be dumb." And then maybe that's why I really enjoyed it. So we watched also the movie Black Adam on HBO. Now I'm surprised that this is on HBO because Black Adam is a property of DC, and DC is on I forget which one. They're not on HBO, are they? Oh my, maybe DC is on HBO. I can't remember now. Oops, sorry. Anyways, that was a waste of time. So anyways, here's Black Adam, a recent incarnation of him. So if you're not aware of Black Adam as a character, he's a real prick. But he has reason to be. And so he's a super powerful being who basically doesn't take crap from anyone. And it's like my way or the highway. And he's kind of dictatorial, tyrannical. He's kind of a very interesting character in his morals. And so when I heard that The Rock was going to play him, okay, I'm not supposed to call him The Rock, am I? What's his name again? It's not. What's his name? Oh my gosh, I forgot. Anyways, you know who he is. He's so famous. So number one, he looks good in the role. I mean, yeah, come on. So I think this is computer generated anyway, but he was really good. The movie is good. I heard that it was bad, and then again, I ended up really enjoying it because, people are saying, "Oh, it's not good," but nope, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But the thing is, I think that, it's a short movie. I don't think they explored the morality as much as they should have. Again, it's a superhero movie. But in Marvel, they kind of went through a lot of sticky moral issues with the Civil War series. And so this is a character who is only going to act on his principle. He's going to do what needs to be done, and he's not going to be swayed. But they immediately introduce a cute kid, and as soon as I saw that kid, I was like, oh no, right? Because he's going to be persuaded away from his path because he needs to save the child that he just met. And so, I know, it's just a movie, and it didn't really detract from it, but I thought, wow, how powerful could this have been if he stuck to his guns and he had that moral dilemma and he chose not to save the kid. Because I think I actually haven't read the comic, but I know that this character is really like ruthless. And I just thought that would have been a really interesting movie, but The Rock couldn't do that. I mean, they couldn't hire The Rock. He wouldn't agree to do anything so heartless like that. And so, I don't know, I just thought, I mean, I knew The Rock would save the child. He would be going after the kid and doing whatever. He's The Rock. He even though he starts this movie as very like dark and villainous, he's not going to be, right? He's going to be doing the right thing. And I just thought how cool it would have been if he didn't, and if he made some very questionable moral choices. And I think, this is a movie about, originally he's a supervillain. Now they call him an anti-hero. I just thought it would have been interesting. But when they did that with Superman, there was a huge backlash, right? When Superman made a choice to kill someone, I thought that was phenomenal. But the backlash was Superman would never kill somebody. Bop, bop, bop. It was like, oh, that kind of leads into the next thing that we're going to talk about. In modern times, when you have someone who is so rigid in their morality and they're forced into something that goes against everything, there's a moment of choice. And I love how they set Superman up to whereas he had to make a choice. Whereas in the past, they would have given him an easy way out because he's such an all-powerful being, right? But he was given a choice. I don't know why I'm going on about this. If you don't know the movie, it's kind of falling on deaf ears. But I'm saying they could have done something very similar, and they probably chose not to. Number one, because the actor probably had a say in what was going to happen to his character in the movie because he's that powerful an actor. And number two, because of the fallout of what happened with Superman, they probably weren't going to go there. Now, Black Adam is the antithesis of Superman. In fact, there's an after credits scene where they're shown together, and hopefully if they make another movie, then those two are going to have to duke it out. So, there we go. Black Adam. I recommend you watch it, even though I kind of spoiled. I don't know. It's a superhero movie. There's not much to spoil, right? Okay, so now we're going to get to the one. Oh, no. Before I get to the final one, I wanted to talk about what's been going on YouTube. I'm already at 32 minutes, so this is going to be a long episode. So MGK Boston has been doing a thread or contest where he's trying to get your spouses to sit with you, and it's kind of fun, right? And so MGK Boston, I'm so sorry. I was like, my husband's never going to agree to this. So I finally asked him, hey, da da da. He was like, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it with you. And then he's just like, cold feet. Oh, you're putting too much pressure on me. Quit asking me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hey, stop it. Stop it. You made me jump. My dog was under the blanket growling. And then when I told him to stop, he made me jump. Okay, so I want to say sorry, but I think my husband is going to do it tomorrow, but he keeps putting it off. He's kind of worried to do it because he doesn't speak English as his first language. And he speaks fine, but he just gets nervous, like, being filmed. And so, anyways, we're going to get it done. But if you haven't seen those videos, you should watch them. They're fun. So YouTubers get their spouses to come on, their spices. I've seen a couple. Down Under Tunage is always hysterical because his wife is always yelling stuff from the background. So I finally, got to see her in it. And then Rachel's Ghost was on with her wife, which is Susie. And so that was a fun one. It's just fun to see the spouses, right? And I think I watched 2 or 3 more, but they're escaping me right now. Oh no, a couple of them didn't have their spouses on. So I'm looking forward to doing this. And what else is coming up on YouTube? I'm going to try to make a Christmas video. I'm definitely looking forward to Sunday. I've been working really hard on this episode of the culling. I've actually been trying a couple of new things, some new techniques. I've worked pretty hard on this episode. I have a 1.5 minute clip that took me about 2 hours to make. I have a couple of other clips that took me a while to make. I'm using a new app for some things, so I'm gonna try to incorporate some kind of nice things since it's the final episode of that culling series. All right. I'm sure I left out a couple of things, but let's move on to the final one. Okay, I want to talk about the show 5 Days at Memorial with Vera Farmiga. I'm not sure if it's Farmiga or Farmiga. So I'll just say Vera from now on. Not to be disrespectful, but I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. A while back, I heard something on NPR about this. Like they were talking about what happened, and I came in the middle, and I was like, wow, that sounds really interesting. And so then I found out about the Apple TV show, and I started watching it. Now, this is an 8-episode show, and 5 of the episodes are very different from the last 3. It totally changes in the middle. So 5 Days at Memorial is about people who get cut off in a hospital during Hurricane Katrina, and they're nurses and staff and doctors, and they get cut off in Katrina, and they lose electricity, they start running out of water, they start running out of food, the patients start dying, the hospital starts heating up. It's just a total shit show. It's horrible. Now, each episode is another day, so you get to see the progression. And what the people had to put up with, they were exhausted. They were working around the clock. They were trying to keep these patients, many of them were in intensive care. They were trying to keep them comfortable, but some of them just started dying. Like, it was heat and lack of water, lack of I think they started running out of medicines too. So it was a horrific situation. But then, by the 3rd episode, race starts coming into play. It's very interesting the way they showed everything. Because people from the neighborhood see the helicopters starting to come. And so the hospital becomes like a beacon, but they can't take people. They don't have enough food. They don't have enough water. So they start using violence in a way, like guns and things, to keep people away. Like, it's really, really horrifying. And there's a couple of things that happen in the show that are really interesting. So, for example, a black guard fires his gun in the air and makes a black family, leave. And there's 2 kids, and they're just begging him to at least take the kids. And this, emotionally scars him. Like, he was told to do this. And then later in the show, I think an episode or 2 later, when people come to, one boat comes and they can take people, he holds everybody off, but he makes an agreement that he would leave. And he jumps onto the boat, and everyone starts yelling at him and calling him a coward for deserting his post because he's a guard there. And the way the race plays out, I thought that was a really interesting thing because I didn't see what he did as cowardly. He was in a bad situation, and the race issue, he couldn't help his own people. He wanted to. They were being turned away because most of the people in the area of the hospital were African Americans. They just lived in an area surrounded by African American people, and they were coming for help, and he was being told to force them away. And I just think that had a trauma to him, and he needed to get out of that situation. So he wasn't, but everyone, the white people there started yelling at him, coward, coward, coward. So this was a really interesting way to show race to me in the show. And there were other ways that it played out. as well, but I thought that was really interesting. And then another interesting thing that happens is how the end of the show, because the last 3 episodes become a police procedural. So throughout the 5 days, we're following the doctors and the nurses, and in the end, they're not getting help. They have to take patients down sometimes 7 floors without electricity, without elevators, without lights. They have to go down the stairwells. They have to carry them. Sometimes they're carrying them in bed sheets. They were exhausted. And then they had to get them through the parking lot, and they had to carry them up this gigantic like there was a helicopter, and it was like the staircase was crazy, and they had to carry them all the way up there. And on the 5th day, this government group came in, and they were like, you have 5 hours, and after 5 hours, everyone's out of here. No one is staying. If they're still here, they're abandoned. We are closing this place down. And here's where I have some questions about the show, because I don't know if this is exactly what happened, right? So this group came in, and they were dragging people out of the hospital. Like there were people there, civilians, who were there when this hit. And so they were there with their loved ones, and they had been caring for them throughout the 5 days, doing what they could for them. And they were dragged away. And this 5th episode got me. It was so emotionally impactful that the show did such a great job. Like I was kind of like, I was so into it, and I was so emotionally into it. It was like really, really well done. If nothing else, you should just watch the first 5 episodes. Now, with this decision, there were so many patients that couldn't be moved, and the head doctor decided to give them lethal injections. And so here's where the morality came in. So I don't know how long, by the time they were taken out forcibly, according to the show, they were forcibly removed, how long they had from then until someone else went back to the hospital. It could have been another 5 days, could have been a couple weeks. So those patients would have sat in that hospital boiling with no water. The whole place was overrun with sewage, with no food, no care. So they would have slowly starved to death or died. And they would have just been left there to rot. And so the first 5 episodes shows the humanity of all these people working around the clock to help these people. And they don't make that decision lightly. In fact, they lead up to it. They talk about it in numerous ways. But in the end, they go around and they start lethally injecting the patients. Because when they're pulled away, they thought that would be the humane thing to do. Now, there are some instances that are iffy. There was, for example, one patient that they focus on who was fully aware. He was paralyzed. He was morbidly obese. He was on the 7th floor. They didn't try to move him down because they said he couldn't fit through the doors. But he was just paralyzed, but he was aware of what was going on. And they lethally injected him. There was the doctor and 2 nurses. So there are some really moral sticky grounds here. But then, so you kind of view it as heroic as you watch the first 5 episodes. But the next 3, you see her as a villain. It totally switches. It goes from the police, and you start seeing someone that you recognized as a hero, or maybe doing something horrific in these horrible circumstances, and you understand. And then you go to the media frenzy and how she's a monster, and how everyone, views her as a monster. And the show just totally changed. And it leaves you with a really uneasy feeling, like, well, how are you supposed to feel about this person? Was this person a monster? Did she just break the law? Because the law says what she did was murder. But then there's morality. Do you let people suffer, starve to death, die from heat exhaustion, or whatever, with no food, no water? It was a really interesting moral conundrum that I haven't quite figured out myself. It was weird. So I'm highly recommending that show. Number one, the emotional impact of it was stunning. Like, I was gutted that 5th episode. I mean, seriously, they did such a good job with showing what the conditions were like in that hospital. And then the next 3 are much slower, but they're necessary because of the aftermath that society, like, the government didn't get in trouble for putting them in those circumstances where that horrible situation, that horrible choice had to be made, right? It was all put on the shoulders of 1 or 2 or 3 people, staff members at the hospital. They were given this horrible circumstances and horrible choices. And the question keeps coming up, like, doctors' jobs are to do no harm. But how do you interpret that? Isn't abandoning your patients? And they didn't. According to the show, they were dragged away. Like, they were forced out. Like, they were going in there and grabbing. Now, I don't know the reality, like, if that's actually what happened. But according to the show, that's what happened, right? And they were forced. And they were told that everyone will move, no matter who's left, they're just going to be gone. This is it. And like I said, it was a really interesting moral conundrum. Watch that show. I think I spoiled a little bit of it, but it's still so worth watching because it's history. It happened. So and like I said, I knew some of the details from the radio that I had heard. So it's not going to hurt your enjoyment of the show. The acting's phenomenal in it. Got a great cast. So this is probably my longest video so far. I'm already at 47 minutes. Sorry, I just wanted to talk about that moral dilemma in that show. I just thought that was such an interesting idea that played out. And sorry if anybody knows anybody who suffered through Katrina. That is, not my intent. There are 2 sides to every story. I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong. I'm just saying that the legal and moral issues that come up, sometimes they don't always coincide. But I would like to know what you think, especially if you've seen the show. What did you think about the show, number 1, and the moral choices, and number 2, the aftermath? That was 3. Number 3. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I already talked a lot. Please look forward to the couple videos that I'm going to be having. Everybody have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Although you're going to be seeing me over the next couple of days. And yeah, this is Garage Geek signing off.